At what point, when you were younger, did you realise that Anguilla didn't have an Olympic team and that it had to be GB who you competed for?
So it's like when I got about 15, 14, 15, and I think Shara Proctor made a switch back then. I remember when Shara used to come back home and I was asking her, like, um, what was the reason you had to switch, you know? And she explained to me, and then I asked the people from the federation about why is it we don't have an IOC, why we are not a part of the IOC, and they broke it down to me, and I got an understanding for it, and then I was like, oh, so for me to go to the Olympics, eventually I'd have to stop competing for Angola and then join Team GB. So I remember 2015, the process started, and I got clearance to compete for GB in I think the late June. That's when I made the switch.
That's quite a young age, I guess, to learn about like colonialism and like the history of the Caribbean and Britain's impact on the Caribbean, right? So, what was that process like for you?
Well, we always knew about Angola having to be a part of Britain. It was something that was taught to us in primary school, so I had an idea of what was going on, but the whole idea of me switching countries was something I didn't understand as much. So I had to find a lot of information out for myself, and me finding out this information at 15, 16 was wasn't ideal. It was quite difficult to really soak in and have an understanding of.
And then talk me through the process of when you actually made the switch to Great Britain. What was it like?
I remember when it came out that I was making the switch now, it wasn't received as good because here am I, little 18-year-old guy running super fast and keeping up with Usain Bolt, just competed against him in New York and almost beating him. I don't know if anyone else was running like super fast back there, and they saw that I was making the switch. So I started to see a bit of defense coming out on social media. And when I just came over, I remember competing at trials. It was a bit tense for me because this is me now having to adapt to the British crowd. This is me adapting to the weather and different competition. So it was a lot to embrace, but my coach was there with me as well. So he was in my corner to keep me, grounded and not getting caught up in whatsoever was happening around me, things that I couldn't control. I remember being lined up out there in the crowd and they announced my name and I got a little chill because no one knew me, And obviously, when the race ran off and I won trials that year, 2015 in the 200 meters, I got a great reception after that. But it was still hushed because they were like, who's this guy,
There were five athletes, including you, who'd switched allegiance to, who weren't born in the UK to compete for GB, right? It felt like the press were talking a lot about it. An athlete tweeted about it, and then this term plastic Brits came out, which is probably quite unpleasant to read about for you. It kind of felt like something that got lost for you was the fact that you couldn't represent your home country at the Olympics, right? It doesn't exist at the Olympics, so you had to compete for GB.
That was disgusting for me to really have that label on my back and having to run out there and I'm performing, I'm doing my best, and I'm still being labeled, and it felt a bit uncomfortable in the beginning because, I'm like, why am I being treated like this? Because you guys know of the situation I have to face where I can't compete for Angola. And me running this fast, I thought you guys would have been, okay with me coming over here running fast and having the vest on and doing my best for the country. But at first, it was just everywhere I go was a plastic bag. Yeah. It was a bit distasteful. But I didn't really let it bother me as much because I still needed to compete. And at the end of the day, I know my me competing and doing well will overshadow it. So eventually it did. Obviously, some of the athletes didn't like it when I just came because as I said, I was running pretty fast. I had just competed against Usain Bolt, and maybe they were just being cautious of, potentially losing their spot in the team because I'm a new runner to the team.
How did you deal with that?
Anytime I logged into social media, I'll see it. So it was like a bug that was just there on your device that couldn't be moved, And some of the times I'll ignore social media for a little bit, and I think that's one of the reasons why you don't see me post as much on social media, you know, as be as much interactive as people would like to see me be.
That's really sad, right? Because you have to kind of dim your light a bit. So when all this stuff was in the press, Darren Campbell actually came out and said, being part of the British colonies, we become his home nation. If our athletes are from colonies, then rules are rules. Did you see that at the time, and did you think, no? And now that you hear that, and you hear it from a legend, right, of the sport, what do you think about that? Because not many people were talking about things like that.
Darren always had my back, it seems like. Yeah, because Darren and I are pretty close now, you know. We got to get really close in 2018. But to know that he was putting that kind of information out there from back then, 2015, it's remarkable.
And do you feel British?
Yeah, we do, because we accept it from we were little kids in Anguilla. From the time you hit primary school, you already start hearing about the history and stuff like that. And then it's in our flag as well. So
You're growing up feeling a bit British, right? And then you'll go into a place running quick and people are like, he's not British, why is he running here? So it's conflicted.
yeah, it was, to be honest. Just, accept us for who we are. And, if there ever comes a time where someone else switches again, in the near future, just be mindful of the words that you can put out on social, because it can really impact someone's life. Those are the things you just have to be mindful because you don't know how much an athlete can actually take it.